Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm painting up a M4 Sherman tank. Found this in my local hobby store, AAA Games in South Jersey, and really loved the way it looked. I had seen a few of these on Amazon in my search for properly scaled tanks to add to my arsenal of painted army men. What you see me doing here is adding a nice thick coat of what is like a chocolatey brown to the mix. You're going to see me then go over top of that and add another highlight, a zenithal highlight from the top with Vallejo's Goblin Green. And then I'm going to take the brown again and I'm going to kind of shoot it at the side upwards on the tank to create like a muddy splatter texture that looks like it's being shot up from the ground. So if you imagine the tank like splashing into some mud, the paint would stipple up and spray the front of the armor panels. Yeah, here I am with the green. I think I went kind of overboard with it. I would have probably liked to do a lighter dusting of it and not gone quite so bright, goblin green with it. But here's a good shot of what the brown sort of looked like as it was sort of stippled, and that was just shot straight from the can at an upward, like about 45-degree angle. I didn't get a video of it though because I didn't want to get it on my camera, and I just didn't have a good angle on it at the time. So here I am showing you some black gray from Vallejo, as well as a Masters series. I think it's a Masters Touch number 6 acrylic synthetic brush. And what I'm going to do is use this black gray. I'm going to paint all of the parts of the tank that I think should be that color. So anything that's metal that should stand apart from the armor panels themselves. So I do it on the tank treads that are attached to the front here. These are like replacement tank pieces. I don't really know how historically accurate this particular M4 Sherman is. I did a lot of research on the tank itself, but there are a lot of different versions, and of course any of the squads that were using it in the Army customized it themselves to include pieces that they need. This one in particular has 5 gasoline tanks adhered to it. None of these come off. It's also got 2 vents, so I paint the vents, the gasoline tanks. I left the X's green just because that look cool, and then it's got a shovel and some pipes. So and an axe. So I did the pipes and the shovel and the handle in this gray as well. The axe head in the gray, and then the vents in the back in gray, as well as the top of the hatch that leads into the cockpit. Here I'm painting up I'm using some Morn Fang brown to just cover all the wood bits. And this is pretty watered down. You see me realizing that the handle of the shovel should also be gray, so I go back in and fix that at some point. And yeah, this was probably a little bit too wet. I probably should have gone a little bit drier, but I was trying things out, so it did bleed a little bit, and eventually I went back in and just sort of tightened it up where I could. But because I don't have this exact green in a bottle, it's all just a spray paint. I tried to just cover it up in different ways with dry brushing of brown and things. So here I am painting the barrel of the tank in that same black gray. I went back to black gray and did some more touching up and decided what else should be that color. I like these Masters Touch synthetic brushes a lot. It took a little bit of experimenting to really learn how to work with them, but if you can keep them, if you take really good care of them, they keep a nice point, better than some of the other ones I've used. I've tried a lot of different brushes, and I've had a lot of different experiences with them. I think if I were to get a really nice sable hair brush, I'd have a better experience with it now that I've been really taking care of these synthetic brushes and trying to make them last, and using those cheap ones as a way to learn. Here I am using Morn Fang brown as sort of like a dry brush on all of the tracks and the lower pieces of the wheels and this entire casing on the sides to just make it look money. I'm going to go in and add actually like a Vallejo mud texture at some point too, which you'll see. And I'm sort of pulling up towards the barrel, like I'm pulling away from the metal pieces, so it looks like it's again been splattered. So it's made, just like a different layer of that caked on mud. And here I'm going to go and do a dry brush with gunmetal over the whole miniature and try to pull off these edges and give it like a chipped look. I don't go crazy with this because I don't want it to be overwhelming. I don't want it to be something that looks like it's just been like sheared and like hit with like a bunch of shrapnel. And as I go over it, I'm really just trying to hit those corners, and it really came out a lot more subtle than maybe I would have even liked. I did the barrel as well, and then I went over and did a nice Nuln Oil wash over this grate to try to get into those recesses where the black gray didn't pull quite enough. So I just, hit the recesses of anything I saw on the tank. The tank has very few details, and anywhere I saw recesses, I dabbed a little of this Nuln Oil in here. I think my Nuln Oil might actually be bad. I'm not sure what's wrong with it, but it doesn't really come out black. It kind of comes out like a sooty gray, and it just might be the old Nuln Oil. I've had this for over 2 years now. No spills, fingers crossed so far. And yeah, you see me apply into the barrel. And here I am with the Vallejo Thick Mud, and speeding this up really fast here because I had it out of frame. But when you get it in frame here, you can kind of see where I'm applying it. I'm applying it to the tops of the tank tracks, like as if it had just rolled over some mud. And then I'm applying it to where I believe the mud might kick up from the rotation of those tracks. It's very heavy in the front, kind of pulls it back. So here, unfortunately, I pulled it completely out of frame because I needed a better view of it. But jumping ahead, I essentially was calling this vehicle done here. So you'll see another look at it in a second. This is a good look at the final product. I liked it at this stage a lot and probably would have been happy leaving it at this stage. But I did have this rubber mesh for like dishes. You put it on on your shelves and it prevents your dishes from sliding. It's like a non-slip mesh netting, and I just pulled it and stretched it out, and it gave me like a wider surface area. And then I spray painted that with that same chocolate brown and the verde green that you saw me do to the tank in the beginning of the video. Now here I'm essentially just super gluing this with Gorilla Glue to the front, back, and I'm going to do it over the barrel as well. So I can then apply more super glue to that and then sprinkle it with a dusting of like small leaves to give it some camouflage. Now, I think that, like I said, it looks cool. I think it looks cool, but I think there's a lot of details that I covered up that maybe didn't need to be, or just maybe I didn't need to paint them. Probably could have just skipped that stage. I could rip the mesh off now, but I'd have to add a lot of details and stuff. My son comes in and drops me a Simba to play with for a bit, and I kind of show him how this all works. It's a lot of shaking. Luckily, after Christmas, I had this big plate. After Thanksgiving, I had this big plate. I'm gonna speed through the rest of this little portion so we get to the next step, which will be the details. So let's just use the power of time. And we did it. Yeah, so here I decided I did not like the way the super glue dried on the painted product, so like the painted hole and everything product. And I decided that I was going to paint some details onto it. So I painted the U.S. Army star, and then I tried to paint a skull on the side, but I don't know, I just couldn't draw a skull for the life of me, and I draw them all the time. I just sort of botched that. But it does look like a skull, and it looks like maybe somebody who doesn't know how to draw a skull drew a skull. Which is me. And then I added like a tank icon. I think I just had too much water in my paintbrush, and it was running and making everything very thick, so I didn't get like a really great detailed tank like I would have ideally wanted to. But it looks like some guys are like just drawing tank kills. So then I applied a little bit more Nuln Oil to various parts of the tank that were exposed to give it a more weathered look. And in just a second here, we'll do a reveal of how everything turned out. Hope you like it.